The lovers who waited until they were old enough for forever. In the quiet town of Eziala, Amaka and Chibuike grew up side by side, neighbors, classmates, and partners in every childhood adventure. Everyone teased them, calling them the little couple, but they only laughed. They were far too young to understand love, yet somehow they already understood each other. As teenagers, their friendship deepened. They walked home together every day, shared secrets only twilight could protect, and promised to never lose the bond that made their world feel safe. But whenever someone hinted that they should start dating, they both shook their heads. "Not yet," Chibuike would say. "When we're ready," Amaka would add. They didn't want a rushed beginning. They wanted a love that would last. So they waited. Years passed. Life took them in different directions: university, first jobs, new responsibilities. But every holiday they returned home and found each other beneath the same mango tree where they once played as children. Conversations flowed easily, smiles came naturally, and the familiar warmth never faded. One evening, when they were finally old enough to understand what forever meant, Chibuike looked at Amaka with a quiet certainty. "I think we're ready now," he said. Amaka's heart steadied, soft and sure. "I've been ready for a long time." There was no rush, no fear, only two souls stepping into a future they had patiently protected. Some love stories don't bloom quickly. They grow steadily, waiting for the moment when both hearts are strong enough to hold forever. A love carved into the bark of an ancient tree. In the heart of Umuahia stood an ancient Iroko tree, older than memory and taller than every rooftop. People said it watched over the town, keeping secrets carved into its weathered bark. One of those secrets belonged to Ezine and Obina. As children, they had carved their initials into the tree, two crooked letters joined by a tiny heart. They laughed about it then, promising to stay friends forever, not realizing they were planting the first seed of something deeper. Life, however, pulled them apart. Ezine left for the city to pursue her studies, while Obina stayed to manage his family's farm. Years passed. They wrote less, called less, until their connection felt like a half-forgotten dream. One dry season, Ezine returned home. The town looked smaller, quieter, almost unfamiliar. But the Iroko tree, unchanged, unbending, stood exactly as she remembered. And beneath it, she found Obina. He was tracing their old carving with his fingertips. "I wasn't sure you'd come," he said gently. "I wasn't sure you'd be here," she replied. He smiled, eyes soft. "I never stopped visiting the place where everything began." Their silence wasn't awkward. It was full. Full of memories, full of the feelings they never voiced. And as the breeze rustled through the leaves, they knew the tree hadn't just held their initials. It had held their story, waiting patiently for them to return to it. Some love doesn't fade. It simply waits, carved quietly in the places that shaped us. When a handshake lasted longer than it should have, in the busy courtyard of Odenma University, where students rushed past without noticing much, Adayeze and Nanso met in the simplest way, through a handshake. During a group project introduction, she reached out politely. He took her hand, and for a heartbeat too long, neither let go. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't dramatic. It was simply a small pause that felt unexpectedly meaningful. They laughed it off, yet the warmth of that moment lingered with both of them far longer than reason should allow. As the weeks passed, project meetings shifted into shared jokes, late-night study sessions, and conversations that drifted well beyond schoolwork. Still, neither dared express their feelings openly. Instead, their affection lived quietly in stolen glances and soft smiles that lasted just a little too long. When the project finally ended, everyone celebrated, but Adayeze felt a quiet ache, afraid their closeness might vanish without the excuse of working together. As they packed their bags, Nanso stepped closer. "We did great," he said, voice gentler than before. "We really did," she replied. Then, with a shy grin, he extended his hand once more. She took it, and the familiar warmth returned. Steady, clear, undeniable. "You know," he murmured, "some handshakes aren't meant to end quickly." Adeze smiled, understanding blossoming like sunlight in her chest. Sometimes love begins not with fireworks, but in the simple moment two hands refuse to part. The man who counted every ship until she returned. Every morning at the harbor of Ikit, Kalu stood on the pier before sunrise, watching ships drift across the horizon. Fishermen teased him, traders greeted him, but everyone knew why he came. 3 years earlier, Ada, the woman who held his heart, had left for a job overseas, promising to return when life finally steadied. She wrote often at first, sending stories of new places and new challenges. But as months passed, the letters grew fewer, and silence slowly grew between them. Still, Kalu never stopped believing. Every dawn, he counted the ships, 1, 2, 5, 12, hoping one carried her back to him. Some days hope felt heavy. Some days the sea felt like a thief. Yet he waited. Then, one golden morning, as the sun rose in soft ribbons of light, a familiar silhouette appeared on the deck of a returning vessel. At first, Kalu didn't trust his own eyes. But when the ship neared and Ada stepped forward, eyes bright, smile trembling, his heart recognized her instantly. She ran down the ramp, breathless. "I didn't know if you'd still be here," she said. Kalu's voice shook as he replied, "I counted every ship for you." Ada laughed through tears. "Then let this be the last one you have to count." He pulled her close, neither speaking nor moving, just holding the moment they had both waited for. Some loves survive distance, silence, and time, anchored by the simple faith that one day the heart will come home. The lovers who communicated through windows. In the crowded neighborhood of Ibeku, 2 apartment windows faced each other across a narrow courtyard. Ada's on the left, Chima's on the right. They weren't friends at first, just polite neighbors who exchanged nods when hanging laundry or watering plants. But every evening when the street noise softened, their windows lit up at the same time, and something gentle began to grow. It started with notes. Ada wrote, "Good evening" on a sheet of paper and held it up. Chima smiled and lifted one back. "Long day?" Soon it became their secret language. They shared jokes, drawings, and tiny messages pressed against glass, conversations that couldn't be overheard, only felt. Sometimes they simply sat by their windows, reading or working, comforted by the quiet presence of the other. One rainy night, the power went out. The courtyard was swallowed in darkness. Ada felt strangely lonely without Chima's glowing square across from hers. Then, a soft light appeared, his phone flashlight, waving gently. She laughed, waving back through the dimness. The next day, Chima taped a note to his window. "Can we talk, without glass between us?" Her heart fluttered. She stepped outside just as he did, both nervous, both smiling. Seeing each other without reflections, without barriers, felt like stepping into a story they had been writing for weeks. "I guess we finally opened the windows," he said. Ada nodded, "And found something worth stepping into." Sometimes love doesn't knock. It glows softly from across a courtyard,